And we're back with It's Time to Listen, a video podcast by Nina Meyer. Today's guest is founder of the Congolese Society in Warwick University, Diki Fundu. Hi, Diki.
Yeah, hi, Nina.
Today, Diki's going to share some of her thoughts on the perception of Congolese issues in the UK, microaggression, living in and outside of London, and Pan-Africanism. What's your connection to the DRC? Are your parents from the DRC? Were you born in the DRC? Or what's your connection?
So, my dad's from Angola, my mom's from Congo, but my dad was actually born in Congo. He grew up there, and both my parents grew up there, and that's how he met my mom. And then they both moved to Europe before they had us, so I'm from Europe.
Did they ever tell you about their first experiences of coming to the UK or Europe in general?
Mm-hmm. I think when they first moved to Europe, it wasn't too shocking for them. So the Congo that they left behind was under Mobutu's regime, so they knew a lot about the education system and just Europe life in general. But then they did move to Sweden, and that's where I was born, and they do talk about the racism there a lot and say how it affected them and how difficult it was to get a job and get further education there.
Is that why they moved to the UK? Or?
Yeah, so they always tell me they moved here when I was 3 years old, and that's mostly because of the racism there, and they didn't want me to experience that when I was growing up.
So you are now living in the UK. How old are you?
23.
Okay, so in your 23 years of living in the UK, have you ever faced any sort of similar challenges that your parents might have faced in Sweden? Or
because I've lived in London for most of my life, so in London it's really diverse, and where I grew up, I had friends from all sorts of backgrounds, so I didn't really feel odd, or I didn't really experience racism too much. And I did see a difference outside of London, so I moved outside of London for university, and there I did see a difference with the way people treated you, and I felt like people weren't as aware, or they didn't have any like black friends or anything. I think it's just the way the conversations went, so they would just ask me questions like those typical microaggressions like, do you like chicken, and stuff like that, but I don't think they meant it in a harming way. I think it's just when you don't know anything, this is your first time coming into contact with a black person, so they're really curious.
But that must have bothered you as well.
So even though it did bother me, I had black friends there as well, so joined an ACS, made black friends there, so it sort of balances it out. And
did you have positive experiences of the ACS? Did it feel like it maybe brought you closer to your heritage, or did you feel
so overall I think it was a positive experience, but I think it's difficult when you get so in ACS there's a lot of black people who are all from different origins, so there's people from the Caribbean, different parts of Africa, and your culture's not exactly the same, so it was sort of difficult to connect because you have this like close bond because you're black, but then you don't have that much in common.
Would you say generally a problem when people try to kind of throw everything in one pot, or do you think it can also be helpful?
I think it's a problem because I think Africa itself is so big, and all our cultures are really different. So when you just try and throw things in one pot, like there's so many things about different people's cultures which I can't identify with, things that I've never heard of before. So
was there any Congolese societies or anything like that at your university?
And so there wasn't when I got there, and then I started up sort of Congolese society. It was more to do with activism and trying to raise awareness about the issues, the current issues going on in the Congo. I was working with a charity called Save the Congo, and I helped to launch some of their campaigns, so their 48-hour campaign that they have.
When you talk to people, what have been the reactions when you try to just tell them, like, yo guys, like, colonialism wasn't a good thing, you know? Like, well, how do people react? Or do you try to just kind of stay out of that kind of...
I try and stay out of the conversation more so, because I feel like when you talk about it, I come across two types of people. So the people who know nothing or very little about it and who aren't really interested, and then the people who already have their mind made up. So they already believe that colonialism was a good thing. So trying to convince them is like fighting a losing battle.
But at least with the people who don't know anything about it, do you see like that they're eager to learn about it, or do you often feel like they just don't? really care?
I get the impression that they don't care, and I've been told they don't care.
Oh, they actually tell you that they don't care?
Yeah, I've been told they don't care. So I don't.
So you've tried to talk about it, and they were just like, I don't care. Or
Yeah.
What?
They just don't care. They just don't see the connection. They don't see why they should care. They're like, Africa's so far away.
Wow.
Why should I care?
Okay, okay. I actually had no idea.
Also, it's the way it's taught. So, I don't know. I feel like a lot of the education is really Eurocentricized and really softened down. When I learned about slavery in school, it wasn't made to seem like it was this horrible thing. It was just made to seem like, oh, these immigrants came over, and it's like, no, they weren't immigrants.
But could you see yourself maybe in the future also maybe trying to just talk to more people and trying to convince them of, you know, your knowledge, or do you feel like you've kind of given up and this is just like, there's no point, no one cares, or what? Like,
I think sadly with me, I've given up.
Okay.
But I haven't given up on Congo and fighting for the cause, so I feel like I'd still fight for the cause, but just use my skills elsewhere.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Diki, for this interview.
Thank you.
And yeah, words.
That was lame.